Round 4 of the British Championship, the Raider 2-day Enduro, normally takes place late in August, but this year it would have clashed with the 6 days in Finland, so Raider brought forward to early in July. The weather here at Carmichael Hill, not too good on Saturday morning. It had rained quite a lot overnight. John Deacon was riding. We hadn't seen him since the Breckland. Also, one of the top Australian riders was here, Shane Watts. So what lay in store for our riders this weekend? Well, for the championship class, about 150 miles on both days. The first riders leave the start here at 9:01, and if all goes well, they should finish the day just before 5:30. Paul Edmondson is number 10 and the Australian Shane Watts number 9. They both start on the same minute, so it'll be interesting to watch these two over the weekend. The tight check today in the Wayne Forest on lap 1, 28 minutes. On lap 3 down to 25. Number 5, Adrian Nixon. Remember, he had a couple of punches at the Havron. 11 is Ewan Knight. Wyn Hughes, number 17, he'll like this sort of going. Chris Kosh on a brand new part of the course. The organisers have spent months in this forest. Because of the overnight rain, it's a bit sticky in places. Wayne Westwood, oh, he decides to bail out. The KTM rider, Jason Fraser. Neil Boker bouncing round in the saddle. The clerk of the course is Alan Bates and his assistant Trevor Evans. They're here on hand to make sure everything running smoothly. On lap 3, the time for this tight check down to 25 minutes. That's Walton. Paul Edmondson. Shane Watts hanging on to Eddie. When I next caught up with Shane, he was in trouble. He'd hit his hand against a tree and he was really out of the event. Paul Eddy didn't know this and he was going strong. This Wayne check was a real tough one. Even Tyler had to take his time in places. Geraint struggled in the ruts, but there was plenty of help at hand. On this final lap, part of the course here through the Wayne had been cut out. It was a short loop which took the championship riders about 2 minutes. If that piece had been left in, then most of them would have lost time. Number 16, Richard Hay. Rob Meek on the Honda. For some reason, he didn't ride at the Havron. John Deacon was running late, but he'd been pulled in for a noise test, so he hadn't lost any time. The same applies to Rob Sartin. A.D. Smith. At the check, Rob Sartin had a couple of minutes to wait, but most of the riders had to go straight in. Matt Lewis was in a bit of a hurry. A brisk walking pace through the blue tape area. Colin Cass would have something to say.
Yellow flags, you know. Once you back yellow flags.
Close. Alan, they wouldn't have cleaned it if that loop had been in?
Yeah, they would have.
Think they would have?
Yeah.
Only
Just,
two.
yeah.
Only two.
Only a couple.
What you going to do tomorrow?
Not too many of it.
That would make it interesting. Bob Perrin didn't seem too bothered. He was getting ready for his birthday party.
You're having a party in the marquee, aren't you?
No.
Somebody said Rappers was paying for it all.
That'll be the bloody day. Every year I'm staying up here.
We were all looking forward to that birthday party, with most of the championship riders clean on the go-in this first day to be sorted out on the special test at Carmichael Hill. We were just watching Chris Walton. He finished 6th overall. This is A.D. Smith. AD averaging 4 minutes 35 on the test. He beat Chris Walton by just over 1 second to take 5th place. Carl Tiley 5 seconds up on Smithy. Carl finished 4th overall. Rob Meek had a very good first test of the day, and on the third one he was even quicker. He finished in 3rd place overall. Shane Watts out of the event with a broken finger. He did the 2nd fastest time on lap 2, beating Rob Meek by 10 seconds. Because Rob Sartin was running 10 minutes late, that noise test, I'd missed to see him on the test. He was to finish runner-up on the day, though, and he was 12 seconds up on Rob Meek. The winner on this first day, though, of course, it was Paul Edmondson. He'd won all 3 tests. Eddie finished the day 12 seconds up on Sartin. Of course, he scored 20 points, and he needed them all because he hadn't scored at the Havron. So Carl Tiley finishes 4th, Rob Meek in 3rd place, Rob Sartin runner-up, and Paul Edmondson wins the first day of the Raider. It was a long day for the expert riders, 3 full laps, and they were due to finish around 6 o'clock. Most of them managed to go clean because the tight check in the Wain had been shortened just a little. Winhope was having a bit of trouble getting through the trees. Chris Price was fortunate that there was no water in that gutter. Gordon Brown on the gas. Rob Rayford, number 77, didn't have a very good day at the Havron. Again, this class was going to be sorted out on test times. Johnny Little was averaging about 4:55 and finished 8th overall. Rowan Jones beat Little by nearly 10 seconds, but Rowan wasn't having a good day. Earlier in the week, he broke a toe. Rowan wouldn't be dancing this evening at Bob Perrin's birthday party. The Suzuki rider Andrew Edwards finished in 6th place and 4th in the 125s. He beat Rowan by just over a second. Rob Rayford averaged about 4 minutes 50 on the test. That was good enough for 5th place overall and 3rd in the 125s. Aled Williams from Lampeter on a Kawasaki 250 finished in 4th place, and the top 250cc rider, Colin Selwood, won the open class and finished 3rd overall on the day. Colin, remember, out of the points at the Havron. Today, Colin beaten by Mark Vaughan from Knighton. Vaughan averaging 4 minutes 43 on this test. He was 2nd on laps 2 and 3. So Varney takes the runner-up position and scores 17 points. And the top expert rider, number 78, Jonty Edmonds from Lambista, and no doubt about it, he won all 3 tests. Jonty finished the day 10 seconds up on Mark Vaughan. So at the end of this first day, Colin Selwood scores 15 points, Mark Vaughan 17, and Jonty on a maximum of 20. The day not quite so long for the clubman class, 2 full laps and 2 time circuits on the special test, and they should be finishing around 4:30. The times for the check in the Wayne Forest not too difficult, 45 and 40 minutes, but it was going to be different tomorrow. A 250cc rider, Julian Cook from Colville. Russell Hicks, followed by Marcel Woon, both on Hondas. The Suzuki rider, Stuart Mundell, and on the Yamaha, Ian. Over from the Falkland Islands, one of 2 riders, Jonathan Summers. His teammate is Derek Jaffrey, number 118. Keith Jones on the TM. Chris Lowe from Londonderry, followed by Terry Thomas riding a Suzuki 125. Neil Shinner on the TM. Alan Jenkins from Truro in the over 40s class. There was also some interesting going in the forest at Abercomere. This was a narrow little track across the side of a steep slope. Ian Patterson struggled a little. The 2 Falkland riders, Jonathan Summers and Derek Jaffrey, they'd both ridden the Welsh a few weeks ago. Ben Sharratt making a hill climb looked very simple. 150, that's David Edwards in the 125s. Darren Crouch. Back in the Wayne Forest, our noise meter operator Ron Carter was busy. I think you could have a cup of tea while you waited.
Both all right, are you?
Stay there, Terry. I'm test Terry.
On lap 2 through the Wayne, part of the course had been cut out for the clubman class, so most of them would be going clean. This Wayne check would be used again tomorrow, but in the reverse direction, and the bad bits would be back in. 108 is Jared Wilcox in the open clubman class. It was difficult to find a good line through here. So, with nearly all the clubman class going clean, the final places to be sorted out on test times. Number 97, Ewan Harrison, won the 350 4-stroke class. Mark Buckley was the top 4-stroke rider though. He beat Ewan by 5 seconds. Ian Patterson won the open class. Andrew Knapman was averaging about 5 minutes 9 seconds on the test and finished in 10th place overall. George Brent finished nearly 10 seconds up on Andrew to take 9th place. Dave Cholwell couldn't really get to grips with his test. He finished down in 8th place. The Kawasaki rider Gavin Hunt was 3 seconds up on Cholwell, and Julian Cook beat Gavin by 0.6 of a second to take 6th place. Neil Foster had a good ride, averaging 5:02 on the test. He finished in 5th place. Ian Mundell beat Neil by 3 seconds to take 4th. Greg Pascoe had won the 125cc class at the Havron, and he'd done the same here at Raider. Both of Greg's tests were under 5 minutes, and he finished 3rd overall. The runner-up, though, was Derek Jaffrey, the rider from the Falklands. Derek was on great form at the Welsh 2-day a fortnight ago. He'd finished 4th overall in the clubman class. And the winner here on this first day of the Raider, Cy Higgins from Tavistock. He won both tests, averaging around 4 minutes 50. Cy's test times would have put him well up in the expert class. So this first day of the Raider hadn't been too difficult on the going, but it was to change for tomorrow. Perhaps the highlight of this first day was Bob Perrin's birthday party.
Happy birthday, Bob! Look at that, that's a crap. You told me you were 50, Bob.
I am. It's a misprint.
Mistake. Well, you made it, you know what's going in.
Yeah, I know. But I do a good job. Turn my hand, do anything.
Many congratulations, Bob. Have a good party this evening with Rappers, but don't get him too drunk. He's supposed to be riding tomorrow. And just remember, Rappers is in the over 40s. It's day 2 of the Raider Enduro. The marquee is still standing on the field, but it was a good party last night. Rappers looks a little under the weather. It was going to be a day of mixed fortunes for some of the riders. Cy Higgins had a bike problem which he managed to fix with a little bit of outside help. Unfortunately, that was bending the rules, so he was excluded from this second day. Mark Buckley took the Premier Award in the 4-stroke class, but he didn't win this second day. He won the first test and finished 3rd on the next one, but he was beaten by Tony Fitzgerald, number 91. Tony may have lost his back mudguard, but he still finished runner-up in the 4-stroke class. Paul Mayle was the best rider in the 350cc class. Ian Patterson said a few words when the bike stalled, but he still won the open class. The Honda rider, John Taylor from Cairn, won the over 40s on both days. John won all 4 tests over the weekend. Rappers was going much quicker today. Well, his wallet was lighter. Andrew Knapman had better tests today, finishing 4th in the 250s and 8th overall for the weekend. Julian Cook was a bit slower today, but still managed to beat Andrew by 4 seconds to take 7th place. George Brent put in consistent test times to finish 6th overall, and he scored 24 points for the weekend. Gavin Hunt was 5th and scored 30 points. Dave Chorwell had a much better second day, scoring 17 points in the 250s, and that brought him up to 4th place overall. Greg Pascoe won the 125cc class comfortably on both days, and he beat Dave Chorwell by 0.3 of a second to take 3rd place overall. Derek Jaffrey wasn't quite so quick on this second day. He may have been celebrating in Raider last night. He still had a good ride though and finished runner-up in the clubman class. With Cy Higgins out of the event, the Premier Award goes to Ian Mundell from Barnstable. Ian scores 40 points this weekend. The times for the clubman class on this second day were not too tight and most of them had gone clean. It was a different matter for the experts though. Number 35, Gary Grover, won the four-stroke class, but he lost time on both days. A lot of the experts lost time. Some of those who got away lightly included Murray Thompson, who dropped a minute. Trevor Jones also won down, and he finished just below Murray. Hopi a minute adrift. The time lost on the Wayne check. I thought Wynne knew his way round there. Gordon Brown just failed to get a clean card. Johnny Little also dropped a minute, but he was to finish 8th overall on the weekend. John Shirt had an ordinary first day, but he got maximum points in the 250s on Sunday, and he finished 6th overall. Rob Rayford was one of 8 riders to go clean. Rob's test times were around the 4 minutes 52 mark. He finished 5th overall and scored 31 points for the weekend. Andrew Edwards also clean on the go-in. He beat Rayford by nearly 2 seconds and Andrew scored 33 points. Suzuki rider Simon Evans also finished clean, but finished down 9th overall because of a slow test on Saturday. Mark Vaughan, as we know, runner-up yesterday, and he wasn't to have any trouble on the go-in today. Vaughan was averaging 4:43 on the test. That was good enough for 3rd place today and runner-up overall for the weekend. Colin Selwood finished 3rd yesterday. He managed to beat Vaughan today on the test, but had to settle for 3rd place overall. Both Vaughan and Selwood finished on 37 points. And the winner on this second day, number 78, Jonty Edmonds, he had no trouble on the go-in. Jonty had won all 3 tests on Saturday, but on Sunday morning he was pipped by Colin Selwood by just over a second. Jonty had his own back on the second test, beating Colin by just over 2 seconds. So Jonty takes the Premier Award here at Raider and scores a maximum of 45 points. So in the league table this weekend, Andrew Edwards scores 28, Colin Selwood and Mark Vaughan on 37 each, and Jonty out in front on 45. Our championship riders are getting ready for day 2. The overnight leader is Paul Edmondson. In second place, Rob Sartin. He scores 17 points yesterday. Rob Meek finished in 3rd place and Tiley had to settle for 4th. Our Australian rider, Shane Watts, definitely out of the event, suffering with a broken finger. Shane riding in the World Rounds and currently 3rd in the series. Out on the go-in, we see Rob Meek, like a lot of the championship riders, he was going to struggle on the go-in, and he finished 4 minutes down. Tim Lewis also struggled to stay clean and dropped 2 minutes. Chris Kosh couldn't make it, he was 2 minutes down, this time being lost in the Wayne Forest. John Deacon the same, he finished 2 minutes down at the end of the day. Richard Hay got away with a 1-minute penalty, and at the end of the day he finished 10th overall. That was 1 place above Deacon. Chris Walton finished 6th overall yesterday but had some bad luck on the going today. Chris dropped 2 minutes in the Wayne Forest simply because the bike wouldn't start. He had a good ride though and finished 9th overall, 4 seconds up on Richard Hay. Ewan Knight also dropped a minute on the going. It was very close for him. If he had have gone clean, he would have finished 5th overall. Instead, he was in 8th place. Adrian Nixon was one of only 7 riders to go clean, and he won the open class on both days. Adrian had a few problems. We didn't see what went wrong, but we certainly heard about it. Apart from that little mistake, it was a good weekend for Adrian. Wyn Hughes was most probably enjoying Sunday more than Saturday because the going was tougher. He'd had a tussle with Geraint at the Havren. Could Wyn beat him this weekend? Wyn was clean on the going, and Geraint knew his way around this Wayne Forest. Geraint was clean as well, so now it was all down to test times. Wyn won the first test in the morning, beating Geraint by 0.8 of a second. On the second lap, Wyn did a 4:37. Wyn's final test of the day, almost exactly the same as the first, 4 minutes 41. After 2 circuits of the test, Geraint was about a second up on Wyn. Geraint's last test of the day, 4:36, so he beat Wyn by about 5 seconds. Geraint finished 5th and Wyn in 6th place. Eddie Smith finished down in 5th place yesterday, although he'd won the 125s fairly comfortably. The check in the Wayne Forest was very tight and Eddie was flat out most of the way. We managed to get to the check about the same time as AD. It was close.
Yeah, 1 down. Yeah, use it. He fell over when I nearly hit you, didn't I?
No, I stood my ground. I thought you were not going to hit me.
I thought you fell back in that shit there.
I just sort of stood back so you could go by. I wanted to put you right.
No extra points scored for running into the clerk of the course. AD's test time is very consistent, around the 4 minutes 32 mark. He was going to finish 4th today and 4th overall on the weekend. AD's total championship points, 29. Although Carl Tiley had struggled at the Havren, he managed to stay clean here in the Wayne. Yesterday, Carl had been beaten on the test by Rob Meek, but it didn't matter too much today. Meekie had dropped 4 minutes. Carl did make one mistake, though. Tiley finished the weekend third overall and scored 33 points. Rob Sartin, runner-up to Edmondson. Was he going to beat him today? Rob had no problems here in the Wain yesterday. On the tightest lap, he had a couple of minutes in hand. He was clean again today, but he didn't have to wait at the check. On the test, Rob was second on all 3 laps to Edmondson. The difference, 3 seconds, 0.8 of a second, and then 0.2. So Rob finishes runner-up this weekend and he scores 39 points. Paul Edmondson was really on form. He'd won all 3 tests yesterday and he wasn't going to have any problems with the go-in. Eddie won all 3 tests again today, but the margin between him and Sartin was much smaller. Eddie finished the day only 4 seconds up on Rob. So, after 4 British Championship rounds, the scores as follows. Eddie Smith on 91 in 4th place. Carl Tiley with 112 in 3rd. Rob Sartin 7 points up on Tiley, 119 and in 2nd place. And of course, out in front, Paul Edmondson on 132. The next British Championship round is the one-day Melville Enduro in Scotland. Unfortunately, this was one of 3 rounds which our cameraman did not get to. I can bring you up to date with the results though. The overall winner in the championship class was Paul Edmondson, with Richard Hay runner-up. There was a little bit of a hiccup at the event. One of the tight checks was much tighter than expected and almost all the riders lost time. Only Richard Hay went clean. Paul Eddy dropped a minute but managed to pull back those 60 seconds on test times. In the expert class, the winner was Colin Selwood and runner-up John Shirt. Mark Vaughan was 3rd and the best 125cc rider. In the clubman class, the overall winner was Cy Higgins and runner-up there, Dave Cholwell. Round 6, the Black Prince Enduro, another one-day event, took place early in September. Here it was a win for Rob Sartin. He managed to beat Paul Edmondson on the special tests. Carl Tiley finished 3rd and Eddie Smith 4th in what was quite a tough event. In the expert class, the winner, Jonty Edmonds, and runner-up, a 250cc rider, Tim Mace. Colin Selwood finished 3rd and Andrew Edwards 4th. It was quite a weekend for Cy Higgins. His bike was stolen, but he managed to borrow a spare one from Rob Sartin, and Cy went on to win the clubman class with the runner-up, Andrew Knapman. Round 7, the Natterjack 2-day Enduro held at Weaver's Down late in September. Another one which our cameraman missed because he was suffering with a back problem. No problems for Paul Edmondson though. He won both days and was now getting closer to winning the British Championship. The runner-up to Eddie, Rob Meek, 2nd on both days. Carl Tiley 3rd. He scored 35 points. And Rob Sartin finished in 4th place, scoring 31. In the expert class, the top 125cc rider and overall winner, Jonty Edmonds, he beat Colin Selwood into 2nd place by over 40 seconds. Rowan Jones was 3rd and Rob Rayford 4th. The top 250cc rider, David Stokes, In the clubman class, the overall winner, Cy Higgins, and runner-up there, Richard Penhaligon. Stuart Mundell was third. Greg Pascoe was fourth, and the top 125cc rider. We move on to the eighth and final round of the British Championship, the Beacons 2-day Enduro, which takes place in the middle of October. Usually, by the time this event comes round, most of the championship places have been sorted out, but that's not the case this year because all the rounds in the series count. A lot of news to catch up with, the ISDE results from Finland. Also, the World Enduro Series is finished, and everyone in the UK delighted with the result there, because once again we've got a world champion, that's Paul Edmondson. Paul won the most important class, the over 175cc. I spoke with him earlier this morning.
Yeah, it's safe to say that this is my best season yet, so I mean, you know, winning the World Championship, Spanish Championship, and hopefully British Championship today, but I have to keep my fingers crossed for that one.
And you've been very pleased with the bike you're on, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the bike this year has been absolutely brilliant, you know, can't fault it. It's made so much difference, like having the gas engine, so I think, you know, it's pretty safe to say that if it weren't for that this year, I don't think we'd have been as successful as we have been, And also, like, my mechanic as well, Julian, you know, it's good to get him back working with me again. You know, it's paid off for us both.
So really, it's 2 more days and you could be the British champion as well.
Well, 1 more day.
Oh, it's only one, yes, if you win today or
Just
do
need
well
to
today.
Need to do well today.
Yeah.
Main thing today really is just to finish, you know what I mean.
So, possibly only 1 more day for Paul Edmondson and he'll take the title. Rob Sartin is in second place and he won't give up.
Well, it's not over until Sunday night, and I've been talking to Bob Perrin, he's given me a few tips, so I'm feeling quite confident.
But it's fairly close again between you and Carl Tiley, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Carl's 6 behind me if I'm right, and he's good round here, so I'll have to go a bit, I think.
Yeah. Carl Tiley in with a chance this weekend. He's lying third in the series.
I got a possibility of clinching second. None of us can catch Paul. No. But I think we've both done well. We competed with Paul this year, world champion, and I take that as a compliment on my behalf. Well, have a good weekend. We'll see you on Sunday night. All right, thanks, Frank.
Suzuki rider Eddie Smith is in 4th place overall in the series and needs just 1 point to clinch the 125cc title. I asked Eddie what he thought of the one-day rounds this year.
Definitely the Melville, that was probably one of the best meetings of the year, and the Seaton Delaval, that was a good event as well. The Hafren, at the time the Hafren I'd got injured anyway, I got a bad knee and bad ankle, which I damaged doing motocross, so I didn't really enjoy that meeting, but the other 2 one-dayers I felt were as good as any 2-dayers, and it was just a shame that we only rode 1 day. For all the time and effort everybody puts in, it's as easy to do 2 days as it is to do 1 day. Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Yeah. And this year, of course, all the rounds count, so do you think that's a good idea as well? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. Well, have a good 2 days at the Beacons. I will. Thanks.
So, on with the event, but first of all, let's have a word with the old boy himself, the clerk of the course, Bob Perrin.
Have you got a good course for us today?
Yes, brilliant. For the enduro riders. No posers or motocrossers.
Will they go clean?
No.
Not today?
No, I hope not.
What about tomorrow?
Definitely not tomorrow. Guarantee it.
Well, we're in for a good day then.
Yeah. I'll hang myself if they go clean tomorrow.
So now we know what to expect. Tough today and even tougher tomorrow. The event takes place in the Cruachan Forest, and this year Bob has got 2 special tests, the usual motocross test and also a cross-country test. When the riders get into the forest, there are 4 checks per lap. 2 of them are tight. 3 circuits through the forest for the championship class. Carl Tiley, number 9 this weekend, on the same minute as Wyn Hughes. Geraint is number 11 and he's followed by Steve Griffiths. Geraint has missed 2 of the one-day events, the Melville and the Black Prince. That was because he broke a collarbone. Ewan Knight on the Suzuki. For some reason, he didn't ride at the Natterjack. Paul Maguire on the Yamaha. He's failed to finish a couple of days this year, the Havron and the Melville. A.D. Smith, almost certain to win the 125cc class for the 3rd consecutive year. Matt Lewis on the Husky and lying in 3rd place in the 125s. On lap 2, this tight check was reduced from 11 down to 9 minutes. It was quite a struggle for everyone, but most of the championship class went clean. Number 4, Adrian Nixon, was back on form. At the Natterjack, he had a big crash on the 2nd day and failed to finish that one. The world champion, Paul Eddy, was showing the way for Rob Sartin. Rob had also gone very well in the World Series, finishing 5th overall. Richard Hay, number 15, he was runner-up at the Melville Enduro. Paul Maguire was trying his best to stay with him on this part of the course. So most of the riders were going clean on this tight check, but there was another one later on in the lap. This one came just before the motocross test, and once again it wasn't really a problem for the championship riders. Rob Sartin was leading Eddie this time, but not for too long, because Rob had got cross-rutted and then stalled the bike. Over to the motocross test. Chris Walton, number 1, most probably the unluckiest rider of the day. On one of the tight checks, he'd got a little bit lost, and that mistake had cost him 1 minute. Like most of the riders, Wyn Hughes was clean on the going. I think he'd been expecting something a bit tougher. Anyway, at the end of the day, he finished in 8th place overall. Tim Lewis was having a good ride, managing to beat Wyn on most of the tests. Tim finished the day in 7th place overall and runner-up in the 125s. Ewan Knight started the day with the 2nd fastest time on this motocross test, only 3 seconds down on Edmondson. Knight put in some very fast times, and all through the day it was very close between him and Geraint. After 3 circuits on this motocross test, there was only a fraction of a second between Geraint and Ewan. On the first cross-country test, Jones beat Knight by just over 3 seconds. Next time round, it went in Knight's favour by just over 3 seconds. And at the end of the day, Geraint came out the winner of the two by just 1/100th of a second. Knight finished in 6th place overall. Geraint was 5th. A.D. Smith finished 4th on the day, and of course he won the 125cc class. His test times on the motocross course were not that quick. The cross-country test seemed to suit A.D., and on both laps his time 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Carl Tiley didn't get off to a very good start in the morning. His first motocross test put him down in 8th place. He improved as the day went on, and his last test around here put him in 3rd place. Like A.D. Smith, Carl went well on the cross-country, 6:03 on lap 1, and then on the 2nd test of the day he was down to 5 minutes 53. A couple of spectators had to move rather quickly. Carl finished the day in 3rd place overall. Rob Sartin seemed to be much quicker than Carl. He averaged 5 minutes 51 on the cross-country test. On the first motocross test, Rob was in 4th place, about 4 seconds down on Edmondson. Next time round, he did the second fastest time, but again nearly 4 seconds down on Eddie. Rob was determined to win one test today, and he did just that on the last motocross, beating Eddie by 0.9 of a second. So Rob finishes runner-up on this first day of the Beacons and scores 17 points. Paul Eddy, as we know, only had to finish with a few points today to take the British title, but he wasn't going to settle for that. He won 4 out of the 5 special tests, and at the end of the day he was just over 10 seconds up on Sartin. Eddie was putting on the performance worthy of a world champion. On the 3 motocross tests, he finished about 7 seconds up on Rob. Eddie was also very quick on the cross country, gaining another 3-second advantage here. So another title goes to Eddie, the Spanish champion, the world champion, and the British champion. Would we see him tomorrow, I wonder? With the expert riders, again, no clear winners in the different classes, except perhaps for Gary Grover, who had won the 350 4-stroke class, and for that reason he wasn't here this weekend. In the 125s, that very strong class, the overall leader, number 51, Jonty Edmonds, but he'd still got some riding to do this weekend.
I think I've got a 16-point lead. Isn't a lot really coming into this event. Anything could happen. So yeah, I need a good ride today and tomorrow really.
And Mark Vaughan, of course, is the closest man to you in the 125s, isn't he?
Yeah, we've had quite a good tussle all year. So yeah, him and there's a few other 125 riders and some of the open class and 250 riders are going to go well here, so there's a few people to look out for really.
And you've been pleased with the bike you've been on this season?
Yeah, bike's been brilliant all year. Haven't had any problems with it yet. So if I can get through this event, then yeah, it's been a good year.
Jonty leading the 125s, but the overall leader in the series, Colin Selwood. Well, Colin, you're having a good season, aren't you? I think you've won the Open Expert class, haven't you?
Yes, I think that's pretty well under control there, but it's the overall that I'm worried about. And I've had a few letdowns lately with the bike, but hopefully it'll be alright today.
I think you're about 10 points in front of Jonty, aren't you? So
yeah, we've got a little cushion, but there's a few boys that like this sort of go, and it's not really quite my cup of tea, but I'll give it a best shot.
in the 250cc class, the leader, David Stokes from Newbury, he scored maximum points at the Natterjack, and his score is 167. In second place, Neil Williams from Brecon. Neil is 29 points behind David. With nearly all the experts going clean on the go-in, the results on this first day of the Beacons down to test times. Simon Evans from Wrexham finished in 8th place. Rob Rayford did some very good times on this motocross test to finish in 7th place. John Shirt, riding the 250cc Gas, had missed 2 rounds this year, the Iska and the Natterjack, but he was still in 4th place in the 250s. He had a good ride on this first day of the Beacons to win the 250 class and finish 6th overall. He did get tangled in the tapes just once. Number 60, Andrew Edwards on the Suzuki 125, he finished 5th on all 3 tests and 5th overall for the day. Andrew had bad luck at the Natterjack, a problem with the bike on the first day which put him out of the event. Today, Andrew finishes 4th in the 125s and scores 13 points. Number 46, Rowan Jones, he got off to a slow start here this morning. He wasn't in the top 10. Rowan went well on the cross-country test, the 3rd fastest time. Rowan is 3rd overall in the 125 series. He's only 11 points down on Mark Vaughan. He had a good second test here in the afternoon and finished 4th overall and 3rd in his class. Number 56, Mark Vaughan, his total score 171 points. It should be more, but at the Black Prince Enduro he didn't score that day. There was some irregularity with his time card. I think he lost it and then found it later in the day. Vaughan is 16 points down on Jonty in the class. Vaughan really flew round this motocross test, winning both circuits and finishing 3rd overall. Colin Selwood, number 27, leading the series overall, 10 points up on Jonty. Colin's first test here this morning, just under 2 minutes 16. That was over 4 seconds up on Jonty. Colin had clocked in the 2nd fastest time on the cross-country test, but he was 15 seconds down on Jonty there. This final test, also a quick one for Colin, and at the end of the day he finished 8 seconds up on Vaughan. Jonty Edmonds wasn't really at home on this motocross test. 4th on lap 1, a time of 2 minutes 20. On the cross-country test, Jonty had done a time of just over 6 minutes. 2 riders had gone quicker than that, Rob Sartin and Paul Edmondson. Jonty didn't have to win this 2nd motocross test to take the Premier Award. He'd got such a big lead over the rest of the field. At the end of the day, Jonty finished 8 seconds up on Colin Selwood. Jonty scored 20 points and Colin 17. A good turnout with the clubman riders, nearly 90 in total. A couple of the classes had been sorted out before this event. Paul Mail from King's Tainton had won the 350cc 4-stroke class. Paul wasn't going to ride this weekend. The open 4-stroke class leader, Gary Makepeace from Dorchester, he'd got it sewn up really, but Gary was here this weekend and we would most probably see him later on. In the 125 and 250cc classes, there was still no clear winner. Suzuki rider Kenny Evans from Daldowlard had scored 164 points in the 125s. The leader there, Greg Pascoe, and his score was 169. It was going to be a very interesting weekend for these two. I met them both before the event started. Ken, it's pretty close between you and Greg Pascoe.
Yeah, I think just gonna win both days and see what happens. Like,
Well, that's right, yeah.
bit of luck. Hope he doesn't finish, really.
Well, yeah, well, he does finish, but way down, that's what you mean, I know. Yeah. Well, you've gone well this year then.
Well, not bad, I suppose.
Did you have a few little problems with the bike early on?
Yeah, I kept seizing.
That's right, yeah.
But then James is sorted out, like, it's alright now.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, if you have a good weekend, you should win this 125, shouldn't you?
Hopefully, unless Kenny Evans is really on form.
Yeah, what 3 or 4 points difference in there?
Yeah.
In your favour, yeah.
Yeah. No, in his favour.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's in Kenny's favour, yeah.
You'll have to go well then.
I'll have to, won't I?
No swearing now when you fall off.
Yeah. Be hard to try not to.
Greg doesn't normally fall off, but at the Welsh Enduro, something went wrong.
Fucking hell!
What did he say?
Fucking hell!
Greg was panicking, but it all worked out well in the end. He was the top clubman rider at the Welsh. In the 250cc class, again, there were two riders out in front. Ian Mundell from Barnstable had scored 178 points. The leader in the class, Cy Higgins from Tavistock, he scored 205, so he really only had to finish this first day.
Ian, you're having a good season. Quite a battle going on between you and Cy.
Yeah, I've had quite a good year. He's just, well, been second on most, keeping sort of in touch, but depends if he has a DNF this weekend, really.
He's got quite a big lead on you at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, nearly 30 points, I think. So.
Yes, Cy was having a very successful first season.
It's been a very good year. It started off at the Brecklin with a second, and things have just got better and better from there. And I think I've got about a 30-point lead now.
And what are your plans for next year then?
Move up to the expert class and stay on a Yamaha, and just hope to have a good season.
Well, I'm sure you will, and I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Out on the course, the going wasn't too tough for most of the clubman riders. Even the old boys were going clean. What was going to happen to Bob Perrin? I've just remembered Bob said that most people wouldn't go clean on Sunday. Mark Davis shaking his head. With everyone going clean, it was down to test times, and Mike Rapley won the over 40s class. He won all three tests there. Paul Smart won the 350 four-stroke class. Gary Makepeace the open class. Four-stroke, of course. Number 76, Dave Cholwell, didn't have the best of days. A slow first motocross test. He finished 10th overall. Brian Collins riding his first championship round. He finished 5 seconds up on Dave Cholwell in 9th place overall. Kenny Evans in 8th position and runner-up in the 125s. Ken Brown on a Suzuki 250 finished in 7th place. He beat Kenny Evans by 0.6 of a second. I don't think Greg Pascoe had fallen off today because he won the 125cc class and finished in 6th place. The TM rider Keith Jones from Watford beat Pascoe by 2 seconds to take 5th. Andrew Knapman from Abergavenny was averaging 2 minutes 24 on the motocross course, second fastest on both laps. Andrew 4th overall and 4th in the 250s. Neil Foster beat Andrew by a couple of seconds to take 3rd place. And the runner-up in the clubman class, Ian Mundell, over 17 seconds between him and Neil Foster. The top clubman rider on this first day of the Beacons, Cy Higgins from Tavistock. He won 2 out of the 3 tests, doing a very fast time on the cross-country course. Cy still riding a borrowed machine. If you remember, his bike was stolen along with his father's bike just before the Black Prince Enduro. His father's bike had been recovered, but Cy's machine is still missing. At the end of the day, back at Llandovery, I asked Cy what the go-in had been like.
The checks weren't very tight today, were they?
No, there was one tight check, which we had about 3 minutes to spare at, and the other check that was meant to be tight, we had about 10 minutes to spare, so nothing too bad.
I think it's going to be different tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. A lot tighter and a lot harder.
Yeah. Some easy going today, Geraint?
Yes. Quite easy for a Beacons. I think it'll all change tomorrow.
I think you're right. It most probably rain tonight and snow more than likely.
It'll probably be a proper Beacons tomorrow, I suspect.
Mike Rapley had also enjoyed this first day.
Bob has this mystique of the Beacons being horrendous, but it's not actually.
There's another day to come.
Oh yeah, it may be difficult tomorrow. Probably will be difficult tomorrow, but it's been good today. First rate.
So everyone knew what to expect for day 2, and we wouldn't see Bob Perrin hanging from the nearest tree. The course more or less in the reverse direction to yesterday, but there were some extra loops. Bob had found some really good going. He'd won the Beacons back in 1970, and I think this was part of the course then. Some of the clubmen found the course quite tough. It wasn't impossible though, it could be ridden, but Bob had tightened up the time since yesterday, and only about half of the class would go clean. For the 16 or so clubman riders who were clean on the go-in, their positions would be sorted out on the special tests, 2 laps of the motocross circuit and 1 cross-country test. Kenny Evans, number 120, seemed to be well up on time. Kenny really had to win the class today and hoped that Greg Pascoe wouldn't finish if Kenny was to win the 125cc clubman title. Pascoe seemed to be struggling on the go-in. If both riders went clean, then Greg would beat Kenny on test times. At the end of the day, Kenny finished 2 minutes down, not time lost on the go-in. He checked in early. Even so, Kenny finished runner-up in the 125cc class this weekend and in the championship. Pascoe had problems, no kickstart for most of the day. He dropped a minute. He'd still done enough to win the 125cc class, and at the end of the series he beat Kenny by 11 points.
I noticed you didn't swear when you went past me though.
Staying on, that's why.
This weekend, Greg finished down in 14th place overall. Number 76, Dave Cholwell, was 7th. Dave had improved quite a lot on his test times today, and he'd managed to beat Keith Jones by a couple of seconds. Keith had been a fair bit quicker yesterday though, and he finished in 6th place overall. Kenny Brown was having a good ride. He'd finished 7th yesterday, and today he was 2 seconds up on Dave Cholwell. Kenny finished in 5th place overall. Kenny's score for the season, 120 points, and that put him in 4th place in the 250s. Brian Collins was another rider to improve on test times today, and he finished in 4th place. Mike Rapley won the over 40s class comfortably. He was the only rider to go clean there. Had Bob Perrin given him some tips, I wonder? Mike also beat Brian Collins, so was really 4th overall in the clubman class. Andrew Knappman was another rider to go clean. Today he finished 3rd in the 250s and 3rd overall for the weekend. In the series he finished just 1 point down on Kenny Brown in 5th place. Ian Mundell finished runner-up yesterday and did the same today. Ian's total for this weekend, 39 points, and for the series, 217. He was a well-deserved runner-up. Cy Higgins had really won the series yesterday, but today he wanted to win the Beacons, and he did that in style. In fact, he won 6 out of 8 of the rounds. This was a great achievement for Cy, his first year as a clubman rider in the British Championship rounds. Cy almost certain to go up into the expert class next year, and he's a rider we're going to see and hear a lot of. Well done, Cy. The clubman riders were going for just over 6 hours today. For the experts it was well over 7. Again, the times had been cut on these tight checks, so some of them were going to find it difficult. Glenn Foxwell had been celebrating his birthday this weekend, so he wasn't feeling too good. Johnny Little was clean on the go-in, and today he finished 5th in the 125s, and for the weekend he was 8th overall. Johnny's score for the series, 124 points. That put him in 5th place. Today, Neil Williams was clean on the go-in. Yesterday, he'd finished 3rd in the 250s. On the cross-country test, Neil had averaged about 6 minutes 35. On the motocross course, he was a fair bit quicker than yesterday, now averaging around 2:17. Neil did have a bit of a problem with the tapes, but still finished runner-up in the 250s today. David Stokes knew that he only had to finish the beacons and score a few points along the way, and that would be enough to secure the top position in the 250cc class. He finished with a grand total of 191, and his nearest rival, Neil Williams, was on 175. The best 250cc rider at the beacons, John Shirt, he'd won both days. John had missed both the Iska and the Natterjack, but managed to finish 3rd in the 250s. This weekend, Rowan Jones managed to beat John Shirt by 9 seconds, so Rowan finishes 5th overall. Rowan has had a great first season in this expert class. This weekend he scores 33 points, and for the year that gives him a total of 193, and that means that he finishes in 3rd place overall in the 125s. The Suzuki rider Andrew Edwards also scores 33 points this weekend, but Andrew was a bit quicker than Rowan on the test, so he finishes in 4th place overall. Andrew had problems at the Natterjack. He didn't finish that weekend, so he finishes down in 5th place. Mark Vaughan finished 3rd overall yesterday, and he seemed to be going even quicker today. He was averaging 6 minutes and 8 seconds on the cross-country test. Yesterday it was 6:25. He really excelled on this motocross test, winning 3 out of the 4 laps. Vaughan had some good rides this year, the Iska, the Havron, Raider, Melville, and here at the Beacons he'd scored 39 points. For the overall championship though, it was between 2 riders, Colin Selwood and Jonty Edmonds. Both of them clean on the go-in, so it would be down to test times. Colin had got a 7-point lead at the start of this day. If Jonty could win the day and Colin finished down in 4th place, then they would tie on points. Jonty won the cross-country test yesterday, and he won both laps here today, giving him a lead of 29 seconds over Colin Selwood. The motocross test was more to Colin's liking, and he was able to pull back a few seconds. Colin was putting on a good show. He couldn't afford to finish lower than 3rd on the day. This last test was the fastest one for Colin, but even so, he hadn't beaten Vaughan today. Jonty on his last motocross test and averaging around 2 minutes 11. As long as he didn't make any mistakes, he was almost certain to take the Premier Award. Jonty has had a great season. His only bad luck was actually missing the Iska. No mistakes on this final test, so Jonty takes the Premier Award at the Beacons. He also finishes runner-up in the Expert Series, only 2 points between him and Colin.
Well done, Jonty.
Here comes Colin. I think he's pleased to finish the Beacons. He is runner-up for the weekend, and of course the top expert rider for 1996.
Well done, Colin.
It was going to be a long, hard day for the championship class, so they're used to it. An early start this morning, 1 minute past 9. Our reigning British champion, Paul Edmondson, had decided not to ride. He'd got other things on his mind.
Well, yeah, just call it a day now.
When do you say you're getting married?
Next week.
Yeah, you will need a rest, eh?
Hey?
You'll need a bit of a rest.
Yeah.
Well, all the best.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah,
And Eddie was on his way home to prepare for that wedding day. For Chris Kosh, it was his last British Championship ride. He decided to retire.
Last British Championship round.
Into retirement then?
Yeah.
Well, I hope we see you next year somewhere.
I'll be watching probably.
It's not quite the same as a spectator, but all the best for the future, Chris. With Paul Eddy on his way home, it meant that someone else was going to win the Beacons. It's going to make it rather interesting. Carl Tiley wanted to win this event if he could. Rob Sartin was really the favourite to win. He was over 20 seconds up on Tiley, but Rob had a big crash on the cross-country test and had to be taken to hospital by ambulance. It was a serious accident and marred what should have been an excellent day for the riders. Bob Perrin had warned everyone the going would be tough and the times tight. Most of the class cleaned the first tight check, but they knew that they couldn't afford to make just one mistake. Calvin Williams lost control going down into a stream. Fortunately for him, he fell off before he got into the water. On lap 2, this tight check was a little bit longer again. Bob Perrin had put an extra loop in. Now this caught out several of the riders. Stuart Bridges dropped 2 minutes. Adrian Nixon also lost 2 minutes. It was his own fault because he rode this extra loop on the first lap. Adrian still went on to win the open class. Steve Griffiths from Cardiff was having a good ride, dropping only a minute here. Chris Walton also lost a minute. Was Matt Lewis going to make it? Just behind Matt, Tim Lewis. Is that tight, Matt?
Got one, yeah.
Both riders had lost a minute each, so who went clean? Well, only 4. Ewan Knight was one of those. Knight finished 5th yesterday in the 250s. He was almost certain to move up at least 1 place today. Geraint was also clean on the go-in. Remember yesterday it had been very close between him and Knight, only 1/100th of a second in it, in Geraint's favour. Like Glenn Foxwell, Geraint had been celebrating a birthday this weekend. He was now 45. Eddie Smith liked to go in. He was clean, only just though. He used a minute on this tight check. Eddie scored maximum points yesterday in the 125cc class. He's the overall winner there. It might be for the last time though, because he's hoping to ride on a 250 next year. There are 4 riders clean on the go-in. The last one, Carl Tiley. Without Rob Sartin, Carl was now the favourite to win. 5. So the first 4 places in this championship class would be sorted out by test times. Wyn Hughes was an unlucky rider. He had gone clean on the tight checks, but towards the end of the day he had trouble with the moose and lost 9 minutes on the go-in. Steve Griffiths had dropped a minute on the go-in. His test times were good enough to give him 4th place today in the 250s and 7th overall. Tim Lewis, runner-up in the 125s on both days. He finished 5th overall, 10 seconds up on Chris Walton. Chris had dropped 2 minutes this weekend. This is Tim's first season on a 125 and he finishes runner-up to A.D. Smith. Ewan Knight made a great start to the day, winning the first motocross test. On the next lap he was 3rd and the final lap 2nd. He finished the weekend in 4th place overall. Geraint was struggling to stay with the Manx man again today. Knight was beating him on the motocross test. Fortunately for Geraint, he managed to put in a couple of good times on the cross-country test and beat Knight by 3 seconds. So Geraint finishes in 3rd place overall. That's not bad for someone who's 45 years old, who won the Beacons 8 times and that first time back in 1979. The title this weekend now between A.D. Smith and Carl Tiley. Smithy averaging about 2 minutes 10 on this motocross test. I don't think the little bike would go any faster. On the cross-country test he was 2nd on both laps but had to settle for the runner-up position this weekend. Tiley was set to win the Beacons, although his first test here this morning wasn't that fast. He was 3 seconds down on Knight. Carl won both of the cross-country tests and that gave him a good 6-second lead over Smithy. On this last motocross test he did the fastest time of the weekend, 2 minutes and 4 seconds, and he beat A.D. Smith by just over 40 seconds. So it's A.D. Smith who takes the runner-up position at this year's Beacons. He also wins the 125s. But the man who gets the champagne is Carl Tiley.
Well done, Carl.
Cheers, Frank. Thank you.
Pleased with that, aren't you, Carl?
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased, very pleased. It looks like I've won the Beacons finally. Never managed to do that before. And due to unfortunate circumstances with Rob Sarton, and my heart goes out to him. I hope he's okay.
I hope he's alright, yeah.
But looks like I've clinched 2nd in the British Championship, which is very good.
We didn't think you were going to do that on Saturday morning, did we?
No, I didn't think I was going to do that. I don't feel confident until I get on the bike.
No.
I'm sort of laid back. As soon as I get on the bike, I sort of change in person.
Into a monster.
Yeah, change into a crusty demon.
You'll have a few beers tonight in Blackwood, will you?
Yes, I will, yeah.
Well done, Carl.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you.
This last British Championship round for 1996 drawing to a close. Most people determined to finish, including Chris Kosh, who's lost his back tyre somewhere. This second day of the Beacons has been tough, and for some of our riders the season has been a very long one. It was an exciting season, wasn't it? Well, we do finish with some good news. I'm pleased to be able to tell you that Rob Sartin is making a very good recovery from that nasty accident which happened to him at the Beacons Enduro. Rob is back on his feet, and although he'll be wearing a collar for a few weeks, I'm sure we're going to see him and all our Enduro riders again next season. That's in 1997.